Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to get into a whole stack of sources on uncertainty, on disorder, and on those really high-impact, rare events, what a lot of people now call black swans.
That's it. And we want to figure out how you, the listener, can actually stop, fearing all that volatility and maybe start benefiting from it.
So the obsession for so long, especially in modern society, has been about prediction, trying to figure out when the next big shock is going to hit.
Exactly right. And our sources today, which are really rooted in this framework of antifragility, they basically tell us that that's impossible. It's a waste of time,
A fool's game.
a total fool's game. So instead, our deep dive today is going to focus on measuring your exposure. We're shifting the question. It's not about forecasting the storm.
It's about building a better boat.
It's about constructing a vessel, your life, your business, your whole way of thinking that doesn't just withstand the storm, but actually gets better because of it.
So we're not trying to be better seers of the future, we're trying to be better builders of systems. And Taleb gives us the language for this, starting with what he calls the central triad.
The triad is the absolute core lens for analysis here.
So what's in it?
Okay, so we have the fragile, the robust, and then this new term, the anti-fragile. Let's start with what we all know. The fragile.
Okay.
The fragile hates volatility. It's structurally exposed to negative shocks, those sudden high-impact events that cause just massive, often terminal damage.
The classic mythological image is the sword of Damocles, right? Just hanging by a single thread.
It's the perfect image. It captures that constant threat of sudden collapse. And in the real world, you can think of any system that's optimized for, like, razor-thin efficiency.
Like a modern supply chain.
A just-in-time supply chain, or the New York banking system in the early 2000s. These things work beautifully, right up until they don't. And when an error happens in a fragile system, it tends to be an irreversible, huge catastrophe, a blow-up.
Okay, so contrast that with robust. Because this is where most people think they want to be. They want to be resilient.
Right. Robust is what we're usually taught to aim for. But it's different. It's neutral to volatility. It doesn't gain from disorder, but, and this is crucial, it doesn't collapse from it either.
It just endures.
It endures. It sustains shocks without really changing its nature. The myth for this one is the phoenix. It can be destroyed, but it always comes back to how it was before. It has redundancy. Mistakes are just information, not death sentences.
They survive.
They survive. But now, this is the term we came for, the one that defines this entire framework. Anti-fragile. It's more than surviving.
It's about profiting from the chaos.
The antifragile loves disorder. It actively gains from stressors, from volatility, from uncertainty. It is exposed to positive black swans, unexpected massive gains.
And the myth for this one?
It's the hydra. You cut off one head and two grow back in its place. You get stronger from being attacked.
You know, that idea that a system would actually be better off because of stress, it just seems so counterintuitive. We're all taught to eliminate stress, to plan it away.
And that is the central insight, isn't it? Anti-fragility thrives on small errors. Think about that Silicon Valley ethos. Fail fast or be foolish.
Right.
When you adopt a strategy of rapid, small-scale experiments, you are guaranteeing a steady stream of small, reversible errors. And those errors are just beneficial information. They refine the system, and they expose you to this, unlimited potential upside.
So it's all about the asymmetry of the outcomes.
All about asymmetry.
Small downside, massive potential upside. But, how do we apply this to ourselves? You used a really interesting analogy from the Lebanese Civil War.
Right. That anecdote shows that fragility is really specific to the domain. The source talks about this small, elderly woman, physically very fragile. But when militiamen were shattering her windows, she storms out and just chastises them.
And they backed off.
They were visibly intimidated and they backed down. So she was physically fragile, but mentally, morally, she was anti-fragile. And you can contrast that with, say, a physically robust boxer who just completely crumbles under the slightest emotional pressure.
So it's not about blanket strength. It's about structural positioning. Which brings us back to black swans. If we can't predict them, how do we really benefit?
We benefit because the anti-fragile is positioned to gain from prediction errors, whatever they might be. Think about how we rationalize history.
Right. We always look back and say, oh, it was obvious.
Exactly. The invention of the internet, a market collapse. In hindsight, they all seem predictable. Our brains play this trick on us. But the antifragile person knows they can't predict the future. So they structure their life so that any unexpected volatility is more likely to give them an advantage than to destroy them.
Okay, let's take that and apply it to modern life.
Yeah.
If volatility is so necessary, what does that say about our systems, from parenting to economics, that are designed to stifle every single tiny stressor?
Well, that leads us right into the sources called the tragedy of modernity.
Which is,
Modernity, defined by this large-scale, centralized control over our environment, has systematically removed the essential volatility we need to adapt. And the most dangerous product of this is a concept called iatrogenics.
iatrogenics. Okay, let's pause on that word. It sounds medical, but you're saying it applies more broadly.
Oh, it applies everywhere. It literally means harm caused by the healer. And the tragedy of modernity is that our attempts to help, to control everything, often end up hurting the most.
Give me an example.
Think of a neurotically overprotective parent. They shield their child from every minor scrape, every little emotional bump. And what happens? They accidentally produce a deeply fragile adult who can't cope with the real world. The kid's system was deprived of the small stressors it needed to build resilience.
And you see this everywhere. You mentioned even copy editing.
Absolutely. Over-editing can kill a piece of writing. But it's most obvious in medicine. We see this pervasive, naive interventionism. You try to smooth out the natural fluctuations in an organic system, and you just inhibit its natural intelligence.
So like overtreatment.
Overtreatment is a classic form of iatrogenics. You medicate a child for, say, natural temporary sadness. You're suppressing what is essentially a second source of intelligence. The body, the psyche, it uses those emotional stressors as feedback to adapt. Suppress them, and you cause atrophy.
It's like we're building a world designed to eliminate all the helpful little fire drills.
And that ensures we only ever face the massive, unmanageable inferno. This is exactly where the famous turkey problem comes in.
Ah, yes, the turkey problem.
It's the ultimate lessons in the danger of relying on historical data. So you have a turkey. It's fed for 1,000 days by butcher. Every single day confirms to the turkey's analyst that the butcher is a great guy who loves turkeys.
So its confidence in the future is at a maximum.
It's maximal the day before Thanksgiving. The shock is only a surprise to the turkey. The butcher, who controlled the whole structure, he knew what was coming the entire time.
That is just a perfect illustration of mistaking the absence of evidence for the evidence of absence. Things have been fine, so they'll always be fine.
And centralized large systems are so prone to this. They suppress the noise, the little local errors that give you real-time feedback, and that just leads to much bigger systemic failures down the line.
And this suppression changes the whole nature of the risk. You use the concepts mediocristin and extremistan. Can you break that down for us?
Certainly. So mediocristin is the realm of, let's say, benign, controllable randomness. Think of a taxi driver's daily income. It fluctuates, but a single day's take won't change their life and it won't bankrupt the whole system. The variations are distributed, they're helpful.
That's the world of bell curves, where things are mostly predictable.
Exactly. Now compare that to extremistan. This is the realm dominated by large, rare, catastrophic jumps. This is the world naive intervention pushes us into.
So instead of the taxi driver,
Instead of the taxi driver, think of a corporate employee's stable salary, which goes to zero overnight when their centralized bank collapses. The risk isn't distributed anymore. It's concentrated in one giant blow-up.
and you connect this fragility directly to size and centralization.
Size is a fragility multiplier. The nonlinear harm, the squeeze, just gets so much worse with size. Large corporations are inherently more fragile. They're doomed to breaking because they have fewer redundant adaptive parts.
And in politics,
We see it in politics too. A highly centralized state, like Ba'athist Syria was, can look robust on the surface, but its uniformity makes it brittle. It's far more fragile than, say, Switzerland or Lebanon.
which seem messy.
They're stable because they're fragmented, messy, and barely governed centrally. That decentralized mess is what makes them anti-fragile.
That's such a powerful idea. Stability through disorder, not in spite of it. Okay, so if we accept that volatility is coming and centralization is dangerous, we need a practical strategy. Which brings us to the antidote, the barbell strategy.
The barbell strategy, or the bimodal approach, is the practical answer. And it's actually quite simple. You combine two extremes, and you strictly avoid the fragile, tempting middle.
Why is the middle so bad?
Because the middle is where you have maximum risk with non-maximal gain. It's the worst of both worlds.
Okay, so walk me through the financial application. That's probably the easiest way to see it.
In finance, it would look like this. You put the vast majority of your capital, let's say 90%, in maximally safe assets. This means cash or a highly secure numeraire.
Hold on, what's a numeraire?
It's just a stable measuring stick of value. Could be currency, could be gold, anything you trust not to just collapse overnight. That 90% gives you extreme robustness. Your maximum loss there is zero.
Okay, so you're safe? Then what about the other 10%?
Then you put the remaining 10% into highly speculative, maximally risky ventures, early stage startups, extremely volatile stocks, maybe even crypto.
Ah, I see it now. The genius is that your maximum possible loss is capped at 10% of your total wealth. But your potential upside from that risky bucket,
Is unlimited. You've successfully engineered a positive asymmetry.
and the person who follows conventional advice, the medium risk portfolio, they're stuck right in that fragile middle.
They are. They cap their upside, and they're still exposed to prediction errors that could wipe out far more than 10%.
I love how this extends beyond money. It's a structure for life.
It is. Think about a professional life. The barbell encourages a serial approach. Take Seneca. He led a barbell life. He balanced periods of immense wealth and high-risk politics with periods of total withdrawal to just write and reflect.
That withdrawal gave him the safety net.
It created the intellectual safety and distance he needed for the next round of political engagement.
Or a more modern example. You have a stable, reliable job, but you also have a passion project with massive speculative potential.
Precisely. You keep a safe base, maybe you're a book editor or a technician, that pays the bills, gives you robustness. And then you dedicate a small slice of your time and resources to something super speculative that might fail 9 times out of 10.
And the safe face means that failure doesn't hurt you.
But the 10th success offers that unlimited antifragile payoff. And this is how you generate what the framework calls optionality.
That word optionality seems like the engine of the whole barbell strategy. How do you define it?
Optionality is the privilege, but not the obligation, to take advantage of a favorable outcome. We could even write it as an equation. Optionality equals asymmetry plus rationality.
Okay, that asymmetry we've covered. Massive upside, small downside. But the rationality part. If we can't predict the future, what good is rationality?
The rationality isn't for predicting the outcome. It's for recognizing the favorable result after it appears and then having the capacity to exploit it.
Like in innovation.
Exactly. Technological progress is really just anti-fragile tinkering. It's trial and error, not some grand plan. You throw 10 ideas at the wall, knowing 9 will be small, reversible failures. When that 10th one shows a spark of potential, you apply rationality to recognize it and double down. You exercise the option.
Okay, we've covered the structure for personal gain, but this raises some really critical ethical questions, doesn't it? Especially when your anti-fragility comes at the expense of someone else's fragility.
This is the core moral rule of the whole system. Thou shalt not have anti-fragility at the expense of the fragility of others.
And the problem with modern society is the rise of the inverse hero.
Yes, the inverse hero, the bureaucrat, the banker, the academic who generates all this volatility and risk, but makes damn sure they are personally protected from any of the downside.
They privatize the gains, the bonuses, the praise, but they externalize the risk onto the public, the taxpayer.
Exactly right. They generate crises because they know they get the upside from the chaos, but they incur no personal harm when they're wrong. They have no skin in the game. If they were forced to pay for their own mistakes, you'd see much more careful behavior.
We saw this so clearly in the financial crisis. The Alan Blinder problem, where former regulators used their inside knowledge to help the super rich legally get around deposit insurance limits.
It creates a morally fragile system. The taxpayer is insuring the risks. True ethical conduct requires symmetry. If you get the upside, you must also be exposed to the downside.
Okay, so let's talk about how we should think and learn in this kind of world. Since we can't fully understand it, we have to rely on what you call via negativa.
Subtractive knowledge. This is a profoundly important piece of advice. It is far easier and far more robust to figure out what is wrong, what to remove, than to figure out what is right, what to add.
Because disconfirmation is more rigorous than confirmation.
Infinitely more. You can see a million white swans, and that doesn't prove all swans are white. But you see one black swan, and the theory is dead. Forever.
So in practical terms, instead of looking for the next new thing to add to our lives, we should focus on removing what's actively harming us.
That's the application.
Yeah.
In health, people are always chasing new supplements, new miracle diets. That's via positiva. A more robust approach is via negativa. Just remove the known offenders, remove sugar, remove chronic low-level stress from your life. Remove a toxic boss.
You let the system heal itself.
By removing the negative, you allow your own complex, anti-fragile biological system to adapt and heal naturally.
And this leads to a final trap we need to avoid: mistaking theory for practice. The green lumber fallacy.
Right. This is where we mistake the academic, the narratable understanding of a thing for the practical knowledge you need to succeed at it.
The story behind this is amazing.
The story is about a hugely successful commodities trader who made millions trading green lumber. And for years, he thought green lumber meant lumber that was literally painted green.
Not fresh, uncured wood.
Not fresh wood at all. The point is, his academic understanding was totally wrong, but he was wildly successful because he was focused on the empirical regularity, the market signals, the phenomenology. He didn't need the elegant, fragile theories that academics love.
So the lesson is that success comes from having the right exposure and the right heuristics, not necessarily a complete theoretical understanding.
That is the ultimate conclusion. We can operate successfully and happily in a world we don't fully understand as long as we modify our exposure. Living organic systems are long volatility. We are designed to benefit from variation as long as the stressors are small and manageable.
The goal is structural resilience, not predictive mastery. That positioning makes all the difference. We've gone from mythological hydras to avoiding fragility in your career. It really is about accepting disorder as a source of energy.
Absolutely. And as you start to integrate these ideas, consider one final provocative thought, which is rooted in the Lindy effect.
That's it.
The Lindy effect suggests that time is the best filter for fragility. Anything, a technology, a book, an idea that has already lasted for a long time is statistically expected to last even longer in proportion to its current age.
Because if it were fragile, the volatility of time would have already broken it.
Exactly. So next time you encounter a shiny new idea, a new technology, a new piece of advice, just ask yourself this. Is this perennial wisdom tested by time, like stoicism or basic nutritional advice that's been around for centuries? Or is it merely perishable? A shiny, untested fad that will probably be obsolete next year, filtered out by the very volatility it can't withstand. Prioritize the knowledge that has already survived.